Welcome to Round the Table. Hello, my name's Richard and welcome to Round the Table, your slow TV radio, brought to you by The Meeting Point, the Academy of Conversations, right here in the centre of Bilbao. This is the second of our regular Sunday broadcasts. Later on we'll be discussing the art of conversation. But first, a quick game of What's the Difference? In this week's What's the Difference, we only have one question, and it's quite a complicated one. What is the difference between stop when it's followed by a to infinitive and stop when it's followed by an ing verb? Before we look at that, the first thing to think about is using the to infinitive to show the purpose for something. So, for example, if I say, I went to the supermarket to buy some bread, this to infinitive shows the reason for doing something. So, why did I go to the supermarket? I went to the supermarket to buy some bread. Okay, that's the to infinitive to show the reason for doing something. Now, when we use the verb stop, we often follow it with an ing. The ing verb, for example, stop working, stop driving, stop smoking. The ing verb is the activity which is stopped. So if I say I stopped working, I was working and then I stopped working. Now what we often do then is add a to infinitive to tell you the reason why I stopped the first activity. So often you'll find stop with two following verbs. So if I say, for example, I stopped working to eat lunch. Working is the activity which I stopped. To eat lunch is the reason why I stopped working. So the ing is the activity that was stopped. The to infinitive is the reason for stopping the activity. Now, why is it that you often see stop only followed by a to infinitive? This is because the ing verb is somewhere in a previous sentence. In the context, the ing verb exists, but it doesn't always appear in the sentence that you're looking at. So, for example, if I say, I was driving home from work, okay, I was driving home from work, that is the activity in progress. If then I say, I stopped to buy a newspaper, I stopped, I'm not telling you then the activity which I stopped, I'm only telling you the reason why I stopped. You have to know from the context what the activity is. And of course the activity is driving home from work. I was driving home from work and I stopped driving home from work to buy a newspaper. But I don't always repeat driving home from work. Sometimes this is just removed from the sentence. So it's the ing verb that is often implied by the context. It's not always going to appear in the sentence. So when you have stop followed by the ing verb is the activity that you stop. The to infinitive sometimes appears on its own and you have to know what the activity was. So the to infinitive is the reason for stopping. Okay? And now I'm joined by Usoa. Hello, Usoa.
Hello, Richard. How are you this week, then?
I'm very well, thank you very much.
How was your week? What was the topic this time?
This week we have mainly been discussing conversation.
Oh, conversation. Yeah.
We've been having conversations about conversations.
What do you have to say then?
Well, we've been talking about places that you have conversations, what makes a good conversation, talking to strangers at bus stops and on long train journeys and things like that, and the benefits of conversation. Things like having conversations with older people and why older people like to talk. Things like that.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
So, do you want to share any of the ideas with us?
Well, we were talking about this thing with older people and why they enjoy talking about the past.
Yeah, why is that?
Well, we don't know, but we have theories. One theory was that older people find it a bit difficult to connect and be part of the modern world, and they feel a bit lost. So that when you start speaking about the past, that's where they feel more at home. They feel more connection to the past. And also, it might be something to do with memory as well, that people have very strong memories of their childhood, sometimes very clear memories. So a lot of old people are very keen on nostalgia, aren't they?
Oh, very good. Very good.
And we were also talking about talking to strangers, and it seems, contrary to something that I read in an online article, that talking to strangers is actually very beneficial. But it seems that most people don't enjoy conversations at bus stops. Seems rather strange.
But what about the ones who start the conversation? They like it, don't they?
Well, obviously, people in my classes are not the kind of people to start conversations at bus stops.
I see.
So what do you think about conversation and learning English?
Well, I think if you want to learn to speak a language, the best way is to have a conversation.
Yeah.
Or to talk, at least.
Yeah.
Practice. So that's the only way to express your ideas, really.
Yeah.
Than filling gaps.
Yes. And it also commits vocabulary to memory if you're actually using the vocabulary.
Yeah.
Because if you memorize lists of vocabulary and you're learning it for a test, let's say, you usually find that as soon as you finish the test, those things disappear from your memory.
Yeah.
But if you're actually using those words in conversations, they're far more likely to stick. I think it's because they go into a different sort of memory.
Yeah, they go to the long-term memory.
Yeah, because you remember the documentary of the man with the 3-minute memory. Did you see that documentary?
Yeah.
He had a terrible illness. Something had happened in his brain and he'd lost his ability to remember things.
Yeah.
And he only remembered things that had happened in the last few minutes. And he'd lost all his memory of his childhood, all his family. He didn't recognize anybody. But he could still speak. And he could still play the piano.
Yeah.
So those things are a different kind of memory. They must be stored somewhere else, or a different system for filing them in a different type of memory.
Yeah. And
Anyway.
then you find that, sorry,
No, go
you
on.
find that when you have a conversation, you use the words that you need, really, instead of learning lots of words that didn't make any sense to you. So normally we use almost always the same vocabulary, don't we?
Oh yeah. Most people, when they're actually speaking, the vocabulary is quite limited, really, compared to the amount of vocabulary you find especially if you read fiction. There's a lot of vocabulary, but in day-to-day speech, we don't really use a lot of words. So Yes, we've been discussing conversation, and we had a couple of idiomatic expressions in the book that we were looking at, and I'm sure you'd like to know them.
Yes.
They are very strange, actually. The first one was to talk the hind legs off a donkey.
What does that mean?
It's when someone talks a lot and they don't stop talking and they just keep talking and talking. Talk the hind legs off a donkey. And the hind legs, those are the back legs.
Yeah.
Hind means like behind.
Yeah.
And you have four legs. The front legs are called forelegs, like before.
Mm-hmm.
So forelegs and hind legs. And somebody invented an expression. It's a very strange expression that if somebody talks for a long time, the legs fall off a donkey. I don't know why we say that. And the other interesting expression was, I couldn't get a word in edgeways. When somebody else is talking a lot and you're trying to say something, but there's no gap. There's no gaps between the words.
Yeah.
But I couldn't get a word in edgeways. And edgeways means when you turn something on its side. So imagine the word doesn't fit in the gap, but even if you turn it sideways, so it's the narrow side, it still doesn't go in. So those were the two idiomatic expressions we had this week. To talk the hind legs off a donkey, and I couldn't get a word in edgeways.
Very good. Very good. Do you have very talkative people in your group?
Of course, yes.
Okay.
Oh yes, we have a lot of good conversation. We don't always stay on the topic, but that's conversation.
Yeah.
Conversation shouldn't be of one topic. That's another thing. We were discussing the difference between a conversation and a discussion.
Oh.
This isn't a what's the difference question, but we think a discussion would be on one topic, whereas a conversation isn't fixed to one topic. It can move away onto different things, which is a good natural way of speaking.
Very good. Very interesting, Richard. Very interesting.
Thank you very much. Now, we also have a quote of the week. And what is the quote of the week?
Okay, so this week we've got this one. Small minds talk about people. Average minds talk about things. Great minds talk about ideas.
Excellent.
Ooh.
And do we know who said this?
Well, it might go back to Socrates.
Socrates. Oh, yeah.
But I think it was Eleanor Roosevelt who adapted it.
Yeah. So small minds talk about people, average minds talk about things, and great minds talk about ideas. So what kind of minds do we have? Small, average, or great?
Well, a bit of everything, don't we?
I think we talk about people as well, yeah.
Yeah,
And things.
of course. I think, I don't know, there's time for everything, really.
Yeah. We don't have to be intellectual all the time, do we?
No, and we talk about people, you talk about your family, your friends, don't you?
Yeah, everybody has interesting anecdotes and experiences in life.
Yeah.
So people are going to appear in your stories, aren't they?
Yeah.
But the ideas, I like the abstract concepts. The more philosophical conversations are good as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, the topic of the week was conversation, and next week the topic is time. Time is the topic for next week. Mm-hmm. Anyway, and now it's time for the news. So the news this week was that the class on Thursday had to be cancelled because the whole of Bilbao seems to have gone crazy this week. And what's happened, Ursula?
Wow, this week has been amazing. Yeah, Saturday, the athletic won the final.
Mm-hmm.
And well, it's a it's called Copa del Rey.
And that's like the FA Cup in England, yeah?
Yeah. And, well...
It's a knockout competition, yeah?
Yeah.
A knockout competition. So all of the teams of all the different leagues are in it, yeah?
Yeah. So on Saturday was the final against Mallorca.
Mm-hmm.
And it was in Sevilla, the south of Spain.
Yeah, some of the students went to Seville for the final, yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy. Because
So
they
what
went to the penalties.
Oh, it went to penalties,
Yeah.
A penalty shootout.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't like the penalties.
Oh, it's a bit nervy.
Very tense, yeah. So what happened on Thursday then? What was that all about?
And that was the celebration. So they took a boat
Yeah,
down the river.
yeah.
And, well, basically the whole Bilbao was there. The whole Vizcaya, I'll say.
Yeah.
The whole area.
I heard that there were like 1 million people.
Yeah, maybe more. Because I think 1 million people was 40 years ago. And that was last time they won this cup.
So they haven't won it for 40 years?
Yeah.
Or the last time they won it was 40 years ago?
Yeah.
Right. Okay, I saw lots of flags. All of the balconies have red and white flags on them, and people wearing red and white and wearing athletic shirts.
Yeah, it was crazy. It's kind of good though.
Yeah.
Everybody's very happy and, well, something to celebrate.
Yeah.
So,
even the people that don't like football.
yeah.
Everybody's celebrating because it's a victory for Bilbao. It's not just the football team. It's the city.
Yeah.
It's like the city has won something.
Yeah.
So everybody's very excited.
Yeah, very good, very good.
So maybe next week everyone will forget about football and we'll get back to normality again.
Yeah. Hope so.
Okay, that's all we have time for today. Don't forget to like, and if you want to, leave a comment or a question down below, and hope you can join us next week.
Bye.
Bye.